Well, hey people, how we doing today? Let's go, Jared. We're cheering you on, buddy. Day 29, people, getting your paper wet. Can you believe that? Let me just scoot on in here real quick, get closer and do that, get that all good. How you guys doing today, huh? Day 29, we're almost done with this challenge. Can you believe that? It feels like it's just the other day we started it. I remember when I came up with the idea, I was like, I don't know if I can do 29 days or 30 days of watercolor ideas. But you know what? I got so many, I could probably do another month if I needed to. I got all kinds of other ideas that just came and sprung up from the ideas that we were doing. And ain't that the way that it is? That's just the way that it goes, people. That's how you, you leap out there and you step forward and then other ideas just come for you. And it's so great when that happens. And, I was a little worried that maybe I would freeze up or something and then be like, oh, I don't know what to do today, people. I don't know. But it never happened. So I'm very thankful about that and very happy how this watercolor challenge went. Because basically tomorrow's over. We're done. Can you believe that? That's the second month. Big clap to you guys, okay? Big clap to you guys. And I'll be working on getting some of that sticker pack, the second sticker pack. Can you believe that? Fantastic. A lot of fun. Very excited about it. How you doing today? You excited? You got your internal locus of control set and you got them, that critical eye locked in the hole and impulse control. And how's your schedule doing? These are things you got to ask yourself every day, okay? Every day. You can't let it slide. As soon as you take your eye off the wheel, pretty soon a month goes by and you're all the way down by Antarctica and you're shooting for Hawaii. You know what I mean? Then you got to double back and drive a long way. Don't want that. You know what I'm saying? So you got to keep checking in on yourself, okay? Now, the next challenge we're going to do, I'm excited about. I'm pumped about this next challenge because we're going to do all kinds of fun stuff with it. I'm so excited. I got ideas for days. And at first I thought, wow, we'll do a 300 head challenge. But then I thought, well, that's 10 heads a day. That could be a little bit daunting. You know what I mean? So let's back off that a little bit and go for the standard one that's 100. We'll say 100 plus heads, right? Because I'm sure we're going to come out ahead of that by a little good margin. Maybe we might hit 200 heads or something like that. But I want to do some heads that are like, abstract versions of the head. I want to show you guys my approach just to head construction, and make any kind of head you want at any kind of angle you want from any point of view you want, and that's really exciting. And then, we'll make all kinds of other heads too. Like I said, cartoon heads or, a praying mantis head or a grasshopper head or, alien head, tiger head, a Karen head, a Shaniqua head, all kinds of heads, We'll get that head, Some of us haven't had a lot of head in a while. We got to get more of it, you know what I'm saying? There's a little innuendo in there. But, so anyway, we're going to do a whole bunch of heads, okay? And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a blast. And what we're going to do also is focus on making, a chaotic page layout look beautiful, look presentable, look professional. So that no matter what you do, you have an air of professionalism about it. And what is professionalism? Well, that just means refinement, that you don't just lay out your stuff, your heads all willy-nilly, but you have an idea of basic composition. And in everything you do, you express a little bit of a refinement, a higher standard. And that is very important. And it lets everybody around you know, hey, you got something to say. Hey, you got some standards. Hey, you've been around the block a few times, You ain't no rookie. You ain't green out here. You know what I'm saying? And so it gives you a little bit of gravitas. Do you know what that word is, gravitas? That's when you have your own gravity. People can feel you bend that gravity waves when you come around them in a social setting or whatever. And that's really important. Hey, I'd steal that word if I were you. It's fun to use. But that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to use that 100 head challenge to kind of refine our approach to our sketchbook. And we're going to use markers. Now, I got a whole bunch of marker links down below in the description. So go ahead and you can buy from them. And I'd appreciate it, Or you can go ahead and pick up your own, steal your Sharpie from school or from work or whatever. Just borrow it for a really long time, and do that. And, hey, I say experiment. If you ever were thinking about getting some metallic markers or, you know, some different highlighter colors, or you saw somebody do like, I don't know, any kind of cool markers that you were thought about, you know, maybe neon color markers or super fat, wide, you know, markers that are fun to work with, get them. This is the time to pull that trigger, to give yourself the excuse to have fun with them, because you got a purpose for it, okay? You're going to have a purpose for it, all right? It's just not going to collect dust up on your shelf. We're going to put these bad boys to work, and hopefully we're going to drain them of all their ink, and you can refill them or whatever, or chuck them or buy a new one or whatever you want to do, okay? Now, I'll also have the link to the sketchbooks that I use in the down below in the description. You know, I was thinking the other day I might try to reach out to them. It's Canson, you know, Canson sketchbooks. You know, let me just show you real quick. I mean, you've probably seen them before, but they're the XL mixed media right there. I love the 11 by 14. I love the 11 by 14 size. It's just big enough that you can get all kinds of ideas into it. And if you want to do a bigger work, you can. But it's not so big that it can't fit in a backpack and is unruly. You know what I mean? Like when I say that, they have a couple bigger sizes, and I've gotten them before, and I was like, oh, this is the size of my desk. What the hell am I going to do with this? You know what I mean? So I might try to reach out to them to see if they might want to give me a couple that I could give away for free to people, you know, because I got plenty of sketchbooks myself, but it sure would be cool if I could, I don't know, get an Amazon card or something like that we could just send them out to people, you know, because they're great sketchbooks and you guys would love them, and it'd sure be a lot of fun to be able to give those away, you know, and it'd be good for them too, give them some marketing or whatever. So I'm going to try to do that. Now, on a different note, I do have an interview with Ben getting ready to drop. I'm just about finished editing that, so be on the lookout for that. And then I got a couple other interviews lined up, so I'm excited about those. A couple international people. I love getting the international people in here. I love it, love it, love it. Gets outside of our bubble in the US, gives us a different perspective, you know, a different perspective on how art is handled from different parts of the world, and different areas of the world really have a different appreciation for art. And it could be more sophisticated, as in leans more to the fine art, like in Russia. I know St. Petersburg, and they have a strong tradition of fine art and Russian Impressionism that I absolutely love, and then different artwork around the world. We talked to Ibai, Ibai's our guy, Ibai Canales, the Basque from northern Spain, and that was a really refreshing look, and I had no idea about all that stuff that went on over there in northern Spain. So if you haven't seen that interview, go watch that. That was a lot of fun. He's a great guy. Definitely we'll have him on again, and we'll talk to him, you know. And he's just a firecracker. But I got a couple international ones lined up, and I'm hoping to get a couple more. There's a couple I got my eyes set on, you know, that I'd like to really get in here and talk to. One of the biggest ones is Patrice Garcia, you know, the concept designer for The Fifth Element. I'd love to have a chat with him, so I'm going to try to make that happen. If he's available, we're going to do it, and that would be a lot of fun. And I think it would be, he's got a lot of words to wisdom to share to everybody, and it'd be incredible. So I'm excited about that, okay? Now, one thing I wanted to talk about is, you know, I got the ravens yelling at me. Can you hear them in their helicopter? They're flying over right now. Can you hear that? Sometimes they don't like to fly, so they just take their helicopter. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of funny that way. So we'll let that pass real quick. I'll take a sip. You know, one of the things I wanted to say is, you know, as you go out and about during your day, one of the things we talk about is controlling the, keeping the evil, not the evil eye, keeping the critical eye locked in its hole, okay? And one of the ways that the critical eye wants to jump out at us all the time is wants us to say stuff to people when we're out and about. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things you really have to exercise is hiding your power level. Okay? You really have to do that. And not for the reasons you might think, but for other reasons. And I'm about to tell you why. And the fundamental issue, or the fundamental strength that you have to exhibit, is impulse control. You really have to work on impulse control. Because, I mean, I'm out and about, and I want to say stuff all the time to people. You know, correct them or say something or whatever. And I have to really, really exercise impulse control so I don't do it. Now, the reason why you want to exercise impulse control is because you only have a limited amount of energy in a day. Okay? You only have a limited amount. And every time that you engage with people who don't resonate with you, it's emotional resistance that drains your energy. It drains it. And you know what? It's not your responsibility to correct everything or to police the world or to change people's mind or to save motherfuckers. You know, we're not Captain Save-A-Ho out here. Okay? As much as we would like to be sometimes, we're not. And quite often, if you got to save somebody, it's really a trap so that they can vampire your energy, vampire your emotions, vampire your creative juices, you know? So you, at the end of the day, when it comes time for you to create, you don't have them. You're too tired. You're too worn out. All you want to do is veg out for a minute and try to recharge. Okay? And that's because you fucking asked for it. Dumbass. You walked into it and you asked this person to vampire your energy by putting your 2 cents in. By saying, oh, don't do that. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, did you know that that's not like that? It's really like this. They don't care. Okay? All they care about is finding a new victim to vampire off of, and you just raised your hand and volunteered and said, I'll do it. You want some of my energy, some of my money, some of my time, some of my resources? Here you go, here you go, here you go. Because why? Because your ego is throwing out this critical eye, through the critical eye is throwing out, oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should help them. And it's societal programming that you need to delete. You need to delete it out of your memory banks. Okay? You need to delete that right now. Okay? I'm dead serious, people. Even your own family. I got them in my family. Okay? They're just walking problems. And all they do is throw out problems, so I come and solve them, and then they take my energy, and that was the whole point the whole time, is because they wanted attention. They know they can't get it through positive means because that's too much work. So they create little tiny chaos situations where I have to come in and rescue. I learned my lesson. I don't rescue no more. Or at least I'm trying not to, okay? They create these little situations that it's a big catastrophe. And then they feign helplessness so that I help set it right, okay? Well, fuck that, man. Fuck that. I was not born into this world with the responsibility of other fucking people that don't want to help themselves. Sure, you help somebody who's ready to help themselves, but how many times, people, how many times do you really come across that? Honestly, how many times can you take an accounting of how you've helped somebody and said, you know what, I gave them a little bit of help and then they went on the rest of the way and they really turned their life around, or they really did it in such a way that then they refilled me at some point. I gave them a little bit of investment, they went forward, and then they returned that investment to me. How many times can you say that that really happened? Motherfucker, that never happens. It never happens, okay? You might say 0.0001 time that it happened, okay? You know what I mean? So, here's the deal. You are filtering people for your life. That's what you're doing. As soon as you change who you interact with, and as soon as you control those impulses, you're going to get a whole new set of people. This whole new set of people won't be problem people. They'll be solid. They don't have issues, and they'll be given to you. Why will they be given to you? Because they respect your creativity. Because they respect your sophistication. They have the same standards you do. And then you'll have a two-way street relationship. That's how this shit works. If ain't nobody ever told you before, I'm telling you right now, that's how relationships work. You just don't know it because your entire life you were traumatized or something as a child and you've been trying to win their favor back, and you only pull losers into your life that vampire off you. Because you're not willing to set that line and say, hey, you hurt me, fuck you, get away from me. That's the truth right there. In a nutshell, I just saved you 3 years of therapy. Okay? So if you want to send me a little something, I'm not going to argue about it. You know, I'm not going to send you a bill. I'll keep sending them stickers out and whatnot, and we'll keep putting these videos out. But hey, help me out. Maybe like or reshare or repost this. I sure appreciate it. You know, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you don't have to throw me no money or nothing like that. I ain't one of them people. Not yet anyway. Maybe I'll change my mind and turn into one of them people. Maybe that's the way. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was Chooch. And I said, you know, it's pretty funny, Chooch. You try to make a whole bunch of positive videos and nobody finds it. But then you start clip farming with stupid shit, and everybody comes around and finds it. Now, that's what I'm talking about. That's energy vampirism. Right? That's what that is. I don't want no part of that. That's why I'm not going to do that. Right? So I want to have people around me that see that I'm putting out, and they respect that, so they want to put into me. Because I'm trying to put into you. I'm trying to change the people that I have around me. I'm doing the same thing I'm telling you guys to do. That's why I started this whole video thing, man. You know, because I said, hey, I need some more people in my life. I need some quality people in my life. And I want to change that subset of people that I have around me to be quality. So I'm going to put out the quality seeds, and I'm going to expect a quality harvest to come back. Okay? And then, which I didn't know at the time, but I'm going to start blocking all kinds of people who just come and will say, hey, that's great, but can you give me more? I got a guy right now that hounds me nonstop about wanting me to join his Patreon and his Ko-Fi just because he makes AI stuff. You know, I'm like, bro, that's not how this works. That's not how you do this. You make a product of cocaine that's so good that people can't help but buy it for their party. You don't go around and make the fucking bare bones product and then say, hey, can you support me? Can you support me? Can you support me? Can you support me? That's called vampirism right there. That's a vampire. He's trying to vampire energy. He's trying to vampire money. Okay? That's not how we do around here. What we do is we work on ourselves so that we can tap into creation, and then we create a product out of our own imagination and out of our own creation. And that's how we do it. Okay? That's the mode or the modality that we're moving into. Okay? And I want y'all to come with me. If you don't want to come with me, you want to sit on the couch, you want to eat chips, that's fine too. There's going to be some point in your life, though, where you're going to hit the ceiling and you're going to say, I've had enough of that shit. God damn it, I've had enough processed food. I'm over it. I want the real deal food. I want the real smoked brisket. I want it. I want the real milkshake. I want it. I want the real experience to go to Hawaii. I want it. I want to be the adventurer in my story instead of watching somebody else's story. That's what it's all about. All right. Enough of me preaching. I know, I've been preaching. Okay? We're about to come down here to this demo right here that we making for Johnny Rocket. All right, let me pull this over real quick. There it is right there. It's looking all good, all good. Now, it's really good to do it like this. If you can put me up in the corner, I appreciate it. It's really good to do it like this. I'm gonna take a sip right there. There I'm up in the corner. Wait, before we get started, make sure you wake up your watercolor with your squirt bottle now. Because they gotta be woken up, gotta let that water settle in, get that mixture going. Great. Excellent. Okay, wake up the brushes too, taking all three of them. Gonna throw them down in there, wake them up. Now, it's really good to come back and look with fresh eyes at your commission, okay? Because now we can see with fresh eyes different things that maybe we didn't see before, okay? Now, what I'm noticing right off the bat is that the shadows that I put in here sure dried a lot lighter in value than they used to be. Can you see that? I can sure see that. And I'm thinking, oh, I gotta darken those up, okay? And of course I gotta put in his skin tones and all that kind of stuff. And then I wanna go ahead and convert this more to a green than a blue, a little bit more a green blue. Everything else in the background is looking pretty good. The building back here is looking really nice. We can do a couple of touch-ups right in here on the rubble and different things that exploded. And that's what we're gonna do. And then we're gonna pay most of our attention to this guy in the foreground today. Kind of try to add all the details and wrap it up. Okay, people? Does that make sense to you? Makes sense to me, man. Makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm just gonna grab a medium brush and I'm gonna come in. And the first thing I see is that I would like the yellows more saturated. That's the first thing I'm thinking about. Okay, so I'm just gonna come back in here and I'm just gonna grab a yellow, fully saturated. Fully saturate this brush full of yellow. I'm just gonna come in here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave a little bit of a washed out spot though on the upper portion. A little white, like white rim light right there, okay? Then we're gonna come back in here. We're gonna do it over here. Gonna just use the idea that that's a sphere, kind of get it done, okay? And of course that's gonna add a little bit more complexity, you know? And it's gonna give us a little bit more variability. So with each layer we add the variability, or the variance of the texture of the collar. We're gonna do the same thing on his bicep, like so. Then we're gonna do the same thing on his hand, okay? Like so, and on his glove right there. Then we're gonna come back in and see, it's very simple what we're doing when we do it layer by layer and manipulate the channels as we go. It makes a lot of sense. It makes it simple. It makes it easy. It makes our decision making is simplified. That's what we like. We like a simplified decision making because we want to win, don't we? We want everything to work. Okay. So you come in here and then we can get a little bit of that. I'll leave some of that highlight right there. And I think that's pretty good. Now what I want to do is I want to take a blue and I want to test. I'm just going to test this and see what the blue looks like. Okay, I like how that looks. It's a little bit of a blue-green, and we're going to use the transparency of the watercolor to add that shadow in there. Right there. And so you can see how it darkens it up quite nicely. Okay, we're going to do the same thing in different areas right here on the deltoid and on the back of the deltoid. We're going to go ahead and do it right here on the edge of the bicep, like so. Then we're going to do more of it down here. Now remember yesterday when I said we're going to separate this hand out? This is how we're going to do it. We're going to change the saturation and the hue below it, in the layer below it. So that's what we're doing. We're adding more of a cool green to these shadows, okay? More of a cool green, like so. Okay, we're popping it out. Now these are his abs, so we're going to remember to mimic those volumes of the abs in there, okay, like so. And then we also want to come down here where his crotch is and kind of do a similar thing. And then on his thigh, like so. Now I'm going to leave the bottom, lit a little bit of a shadow highlight, if you will, like so. This adds that that feeling of three-dimensionality and a little bit of the contrast with that shadow. Got a little bit of a rim light. And this is why you get really nice complex colors with just a few simplified layers of watercolor. With just a few simplified layers. And look how much better that looks. It already looks darker. Okay, and you could even take it further if you wanted to in some aspects. So maybe we'll do that. We'll take a little bit of this greenish color and kind of orange it up a little bit. And I'm looking for value. I'm trying to use the channel of value to just touch a darker value where I believe that, like on this part of his deltoid right here, or this part of his pec, where it's going to be darker, to kind of re-enhance that three-dimensional form, okay? And we're going to leave this alone for a minute, let it dry, so that we can get an accurate reading of how dark that value is going to be. Right here on his hip a little bit. And I'll probably do the same thing down here on his thigh. Cool it down just a tad. Darken it up, darken it up. And see how it makes that arrow pop out a lot more? Makes it nice. That nice pop. And then we're only looking for the color and the saturation. We're not worried right now about the complex anatomy. We're also doing simplified volumes, if you can tell. Okay, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about the specific anatomy. I'm thinking about the simplified volumes. Because if we get the simplified volume correct, we can come back later and put on a couple of details that's going to make the anatomical component of his anatomy. That was a redundant, right? Anatomical component of his anatomy. We can make the components of his anatomy read easily with a couple of details. Okay. Now I might want to. So I'm looking at this finger right here, and I'm saying it kind of blends in with the background. So I want to lift that back off. I don't want to have that like that. I don't want it to blend in. So I lift it back off and let the yellow shine through more clearly, okay? Because I want it to pop out, so I made a little bit of an adjustment right there. Now you can see it pops out a lot better from the background. All right, now I gotta let that dry. But while I let that dry, I want to create his skin tone. So I'm gonna take a little bit of yellow, a little bit of pink. I'm just gonna mix them together. Maybe a little bit of blue as well. And I'm gonna give myself a little bit of a color continuum to go ahead, come in here and lay down a base color of skin tone, okay? Where I think it should go, just like that. Okay? Now we're gonna let that dry to see what value it's gonna be, and then we'll come back and we'll color it some more, okay? Now, I'm looking at him again and I'm saying, okay, it looks good, looks good. Now I'm gonna move back to this character in the back, and I'm gonna do a little bit of a blue-green on that, the green arrow, okay? Starting first in his pants. Now remember, I'm gonna leave some portions of this untouched so you can see some of the blue shine through. This is all just the same wash, so he looks more green, okay? We're also, every time I add a layer of watercolor, it's going to darken the value a little bit, which is good because we want him to stick out even more so you can see who he is. Okay? So we got that going. Now I want to warm up his skin a little bit. I'm going to take the same skin tone mixture, going to water it down a little bit, and I'm just going to come in here and lay it over the blue. Okay, so that's going to already handle the correct hue for me. See how the blue is going to go ahead and make it a little bit purplish. You know, I already set it in the right order for me. That's what I like. Okay. Now we got to also make his beard a little bit blonde. We're gonna take a little bit of yellow, come in here, touch on his beard and his mustache and his hair because he's blonding. Okay. That's basically how that goes. And then his arrow is also green. Now, I do like right now the way the bow on his bow and arrow is sticking out. It's popping out against that dark wall. Now, if I make it green, it might fade back into the wall because the values might be too similar. But let's give it a try and see what happens. This is a test, okay? I can look at it and see what happens. Now, it kind of does. It blends in. Can you see that right there? It blends into the background. Hard to see. So let's go ahead and lift it off, lift some of it off. Now, a little bit will be left on there. Okay, and that's kind of how I want it. A little bit of green, a little bit will be left on there. We can still see it because it pops out. Now I also want to touch his arrows up back here, so they mimic the arrows in the foreground, but they're cooler. Okay, so we want one to be a little red. We got a green one right here. You know, the green one in here. Maybe another green one. Maybe get some blue. Maybe get some blue and come in down here and put it in there like so. And what I'm noticing is that his skin tone, because it's dried a little bit, is still too light. So I'm going to add a little bit of an orange, a little more orangish mixture to kind of try to darken him up. There we go, that's better. See how that feels better in the background? If you blur your eyes, the camera's actually doing a nice job of blurring right now the background. It kind of, you can see it fit. So when you're having a hard time and you can't tell what to do, blur your eyes a little bit and see if that works. Okay? Because when you blur your eyes, you only focus on the general aspects of the painting or the drawing, and you're able to see larger errors easier. Now I'm going to make this blue. Might grab some brown because this is just rubble in the background. I don't know what kind of rubble it is, so you know, don't ask me. I don't really know, but it needs to look like rubble. You know, I don't want any white spots popping out at me, is what I'm saying. You know, and I'm just putting a wash of brown over it, and I'll probably come back in and add some shadow to it to kind of give it a little three-dimensionality. The other thing that we can do, which is a lot of fun, is we can go ahead and we can get some of this brown, mix it with maybe some of this green, grab one of our other paint brushes and give it a little texture. Do a little bit of this texture, how I'm doing right now. A little bit of the splatter texture. Okay. Now it's kind of dark, but it'll blend right in. So what we want to do is get an even darker version of that. So let me grab some of this darker blue, add a brown to it, and come in here in the foreground and add some of that. Now don't worry if you splatter in the wrong area, you can just go ahead and wet your brush down and pick it back up. No big deal. See, I wetted my brush and I'm going to pick it up on this arrow right here, like so. Now maybe even want even darker, so let's grab some of that black that I was telling you about. Grab some of that black and add it to the brown. Okay, and we're going to go in here. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Good. And just put some of the black in the foreground. Okay, just some texture. We're just having fun here. Now I got texture all over him. See that? Got texture all over him, right? In his hand. Let me just lift that up real quick. See how easy that comes up and it's gone. See how easy that comes up down here? It's gone. You know, you got some, maybe you want to leave it on his leg, I don't know, but there, I got rid of it, it's gone. No problem, see? So it's no problem. There's some in his hair, maybe we're going to get rid of that, it's gone, okay? Oh, and that reminds me, we're going to have to do blood too, people, so get ready for that. We're going to do some blood, that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to put it in his hair. So let's go back into the background real quick, or the mid-tone, and let's start to add just basic shadows so we can wrap this thing up, okay? Just some finishing touches on the shadows. Maybe there's a shadow there. Maybe there's a shadow there. And what you want to do is use the shadows to help stop the eye or direct the eye around your painting. Okay, your drawing, your painting, or whatever you're doing. And you know, maybe this is a little bit darker. We're gonna just go ahead and do that. Then look how that pops that apple out, right? And that's what we're kind of making decisions about. Is what do we want to have priority in the image? What do we want people to look at? You know, and if something's too strong, we're going to soften it up. And if it's too soft, we're going to make it stronger. And we're going to look through all the channels to make that happen. You know, we're going to look through value, through hue, through saturation, and through shape, even though all the shapes are already done. You see what I mean? Now, we can also come up here in the arrow. We'll take some of this alizarin red, and we'll make it a little bit darker. You know, just a little bit darker up here in the shadow. Let's give it a little bit of a three-dimensionality. We'll do this. Use the same red over here on the orange. We'll grab a little bit of blue, add it to the red, put it in with the green right there, and it gives a little bit of three-dimensionality. Okay. Now I have left the shafts on the arrows white so they stand out. But let's just say I go ahead and I mimic his outfit and I make him yellow. Okay. I think that'll be nice because it'll draw attention and it'll mimic his outfit. So we can make that one yellow, and maybe maybe some of them are different colors. You know, maybe some of them are brown or turquoise, or let's go ahead and let's make one black just for the sake of it. Maybe this one's like the death one or something. I don't know. But you know, you just think about this stuff and make it up as you go along and have a good time. You know, it's kind of like that Bob Ross says, "Oh, it's a happy little tree." Maybe that's a dangerous little arrow. I don't know. And then maybe this one is orange. Now we want to pick a color that contrasts his outfit over here because obviously it's going to go on top of his yellow outfit, right? So we want to contrast that. And maybe this one's turquoise. I don't know. Maybe it has a turquoise shaft. Like maybe the shafts mean something different, and then also the feathers mean something different. So you know, he can really do different things to his arrows and put different combinations together, and they blow up, or maybe they have a spider web, or maybe they have like a scopolamine. Maybe they're dipped in scopolamine so he can knock people out or whatever. Now that one right there looks like it's kind of getting lost in the background. So let's grab a little bit of a darker turquoise, like so, and just give it a little help. Bring it back to life a little bit. Okay. Now, let's take a look at his skin because it's dry right there, and let's just go ahead and make him have a two-tone skin color. Meaning, let's give him some shadow in here, where we think the shadow would be, and anatomically wise, just on the side of his nose. Just think about those things like they're just general shapes. Think about his cheek like it's a sphere right there. His nose is a sphere. His lip is going to be brightest right there. and so on. And just do that. Just, you know, relax with it. Have a good time. Okay? So that's what we're doing. All right, now let's go to the fun part. But we're gonna use 2 brushes on the fun part. This is gonna be the blood. Okay, people? The big one's for big splatters. The medium one's gonna be for smaller splatters, okay? So at first we're gonna start with the small one, okay? So I'm just gonna grab a nice crimson red, and we're just gonna go in here and just splatter it around. Just have a good time splattering it around, all right? And some of this blood's gonna diffuse, which is good because then it's gonna look like his costume. It's been sucked into his costume, right? Like it's wet, okay? So then go ahead and do some more blood, you know, throughout. And then what we'll do is like the areas that we don't want the blood. And I almost wonder if I got that on my camera. I don't think I did. But it's no big deal. I got something on my camera to protect it. Let's go ahead and just get rid of some of this blood. You know, it's okay if it has a little bit of red tint to it. Like so. Then let's get a darker. Let's go ahead and get that magenta. Mix it with some of the red. So this is like kind of like after the blood's starting to coagulate. Alright? We're going to go ahead and put that in there. So the blood's starting to coagulate a little bit. Alright, now let's go ahead and add some blue to that magenta. This is going to give, like, after it's already started to dry even. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's wet. Anyway, that gives like a nice 3-dimensionality to it, to the blood. Alright. So we got the blood smears or whatever, and if you want, if you think it's too harsh, which it might be, just go ahead and spray a little bit of, really softly, a little bit of the water from our spray bottle, and it's going to ease up and allow all of that water to kind of mix with the watercolor and diffuse around it. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to add the bloody trails coming out of his wounds, right? Because he's bleeding like a crazy man. So we're going to go ahead. Do you see that? We're just going to add the blood. He's just bleeding all over himself. Okay, we got some blood down here. Let me push that up. Coming down here like so, and kind of just trace it along the muscles a little bit. Okay, he's bleeding like a crazy man. I'm just using one color right now. Okay, and then we want to make it kind of collect down here. Maybe it's dropping off, you know, off his arm, like so. You just arrange that on the arrow, fix that up. And maybe it's like, you know, dropping off, so I'm just gonna touch it a few places like it's dropping off. Okay. Now I'm looking back. Now you gotta let it dry for a little bit to even see if it's gonna be the value that you want it to be. And if it is, great. If it's not, you gotta add a little darker value. So I'm gonna grab some of the alizarin, some of the blue. And I'm just gonna come in here and touch on top of the wet area that we already laid down, so it just kind of goes in there and spreads out a little bit. Now we got ourselves a bloody fella. Okay. He's nice and bloody. And maybe you want to adjust some of those, some of the blood in other spots, and you can do that. Just touch it with the brush and move it around. And there we go. Or maybe he has some blood in his hair. He's got that white hair. That'll be fun. So maybe he touched his hair or something. So just follow the streaks of the hair, like so. Follow the streaks of the hair, and this gives you an opportunity to add volume to the hair. And then if it's too strong, just get your brush wet and come back in and kind of just run it over it so that it blends into the paper, like so. And it kind of looks like it's saturated. And there we go. Okay. So now we got our fighter who's been in a big time battle with the green arrow there in the background. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put our brushes to the side, And you can grab a paintbrush, or I like to have this pin right here for the end of it. See that pin right there? It's just a 0.7 of a Copic, a multi-liner. Nothing special. Makes it easy to do this. And then now it's the rewarding part. So we go in and we're going to pull off the tape. We're going to see what we got. Okay? I'm going to check it out. Be careful when you pull it off. I've ruined many commissions by ripping it too quickly. You have to pull it 90 degrees, like so, with the tape. So you don't rip the paper, because that's no fun, to do all this work and then rip the paper. That's a pain in the motherfucking ass. We don't want to do that, right? And I know how fun it is to rip this stuff off. So here we go. Oh, didn't that feel good? It feels good to me. Feels like we're getting something fresh going right here. All right. Let me come back down here. Rip off the bottom. Like so. Now I did rip a little bit. You can see a little bit of the paper came off, but because of the way that I ripped it, or I'm pulling the tape off, it didn't have any consequence to the painting. Now that's after years of work or whatever, being smart, do it that way, okay? And there we go. So I already signed it right there, but I do like to date my stuff. So I think today's the 26th. Is that right? Is today the 26th? Do you know? I think today's 26th, so we're gonna go. And there we go. We got this wonderful variant cover for Johnny Rocket. If I wanted to spend more time onto it, I would probably go in and just adjust some more of the flesh tones up there, and maybe work around to some of the details and pull it out. But for only doing it for 4 30-minute sessions, I say we did a bang-up job, people. That's fantastic, okay? So that's a lot of fun. Now that's how we do it, okay? That's how you do it. Good job. Are you happy with what you did? Be happy with what you did, because you did it. Be happy that you produced it, okay? Don't worry about the quality. Never worry about the quality. Just first think about the product. You produced it, good job. Think about your workflow, okay? Start to think about your process. Think about how you can improve your process, not the artwork itself, okay? Improving the artwork itself is, you'll never be able to do it. If you improve the process itself will improve the artwork. That's how you do it. That's the big takeaway. So get excited about it, improve your process, improve your life. Let's go, let's get out.